All right. I'll go to a team that I don't think is as ascendant as the Huskies. That would be Kent State. I've got them elevator down. This is going to be something to see. Just kind of like I'm just a morbid curiosity more than anything else. The head coach Sean Lewis is now the offensive coordinator at Colorado. The new head coach Kenny Burns was the running back coach at Minnesota, which is interesting considering how specific, to be generous, with PJ Fleck, who I think is a good coach, but he really has his own flavor, which is acquired. So I'm kind of curious what an assistant of his will look like as a head coach. The offense was actually gutted by the Lewis departure. They are last nationally in retained Ryan. This is what just puts it all in perspective. Or, yeah, they are last in Ryan. Second last is Air Force. So Air Force has more of a returning receiving game than Kent State. Good luck with that, guys. Their starting quarterback, Colin Schlee, transferred to UCLA. Their top running back transferred to Ball State, and he's first team preseason All-MAC. Their top wide receiver transferred to North Carolina. If you take all of my returning experience and projected improvement metrics and combine them, for their offensive line, they are dead last in all of FBS in that metric. So it's not just a rebuild. It's like it's coming in after the hurricane, and just we're sorting through literally the debris at this point on offense.
So,
yes. So defense, average improvement in experience, but they were so bad. They were actually 116th in defensive apex last season. I can't really see, even if they improve a lot, they have a long way to go. And that was just always their Achilles heel under Sean Lewis. I'm projecting them a game and a half, or K Ford is projecting them a game and a half worse. I don't think they can do any better than the guy that just left, Sean Lewis. I've been high on him for a while. He's replaced by a first-time head coach. The new offensive coordinator is a first-time offensive coordinator. The total is 2.5 wins. I show them favored only versus Central Connecticut and maybe Bowling Green. But after talking about Bowling Green has some pieces in here. So I show them as favored in only one game. 2.5 seems really, really high. The under I'm showing is -135. You might have something more recent than that, but this is an underplay for me here.
Yeah, so I will say that. Yeah, I've got over 2.5, under 2.5, -125. So you're not getting plus money there, anyways. One thing I will say is that it's like, they returned. I believe you say they returned 0, Ryan. So the cool thing about that is, thank God they hired the running backs coach from a running team, so they can just run the ball now. They don't need to. they don't need to.
That's it.
What's this forward
just wave
pass?
the wand and just we're running now. Okay, I didn't know it was that easy.
We're new Army now. We're Army now. We're not passing the ball. What's this forward pass? We don't have any wide receivers. We're just gonna run the ball. So the thing is, that's not a good sign. The fact is that this is the MAC. This is not Army. You do need to pass the ball because there are a lot of points are going to be scored. Doing a really control-y game when your defense is also not great. So it's like, hey, they can pass against us, but we don't want to try that. That seems like a bad idea. Let's not pass the ball. We're just going to run the ball, but they can pass the ball because our defense is also not great. Yeah, no, this is not particularly good. I do think that it is a bit weird hiring. So what was it? The offensive coordinator from Minnesota, or the running
backs coach.
So he wasn't even the offensive coordinator. So that's a little concerning. I mean, yes, of course, running back is the most important position at Minnesota. They're a very run heavy team. But like that seems a bit of an odd hire. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Minnesota was like, we kind of like Minnesota in random times. But we're not like, oh man, Minnesota, their running backs coach like it's like we like them randomly in spots, but we're not like, this is an amazing team. And I think this is, I mean, again, it's a MAC level hire. This is a rebuild. Let's see where this team comes next year. But yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty rough year for the Flashes here. I don't think this team is going to be going to any bowls or conference championship games.
They've got national bottom 5 potential. Seriously. I mean, it's like I said, they're going through the debris at this point. They're not rebuilding yet.
Their out of conference isn't, well, okay, yeah. Central Connecticut, okay, cool, they get the win there. But then they got UCF, Arkansas, and Fresno State. Those aren't fun. That's not fun. Those are not fun teams to play against, especially not UCF. You're like, yeah, let's schedule a team in the Big 12, the SEC, and the Mountain West. Just like, I guess you get one
Yeah,
FCS team in there. So, but
find me any game besides Central Connecticut where you think they're going to be favored, or even like even. I don't see it.
no, I don't.
Literally, the
Yeah,
hope was Bowling Green, and then just discussing that with you, it's like, yeah, they're not even close. They're not even
no.
close.
Like Bowling Green's not good, but they're not bad. So,
Well, let me,
and
yeah.
even then,
So
so
my
like, say this kind of reminds me a little bit of like Kansas 2 years ago when their win total was over 1.5. And it's like, and that was Lance Leopold, and we believed in him, and then he won. He beat Texas, and that was the second one. But like, okay, you win say you upset someone, say you upset Bowling Green. Okay, that's 2 wins. Are you going to beat Ball State the next week? No. Are you going to beat Northern Illinois the next week? Also no. Right? Like, this is the thing. So yeah, I'm not. I have this team. I agree with you on this team. I had this. What did I have? I had Stairs down, and again, I
yeah,
only had Stairs down just for the simple fact that they were 5-7. So like they win 2 games.
because
It's
yeah,
only like, yeah, like there's only so much you can get worse. So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Do
All
you want to
right.
do Central Michigan?
Central Michigan. Okay, so I have this team of stairs elevator up. It's a new quarterback, but it is a better fit for their offense. Everything else has improved. They're more experienced than last year. Again, this is another team that it's like this was a better team the year before in 21. Last year they kind of got a bit unlucky. They could have almost beat Oklahoma State last year. They were
Yes.
21-point dogs and they almost won. Um, and I think let me just double check here with the numbers. But no, it was they got definitely unlucky in some of those games last year. And I think they could have had they went what 4-8 last year. But there's a lot of these games that could have had Ball State. They lost by 1 to Ball State. They lost to Bowling Green, which is unexcusable. They lost to Western Michigan, and they were 10-point favorites. They lost by 2. Like you rearrange, you move some of
That's
these
yeah.
points around. They could have easily made a bowl. They covered this. They only lost 33-14 against Penn State. Right? They were 28-point dogs to Penn State, and they only lost that game by like 20 points. That's not bad at all. Like this, they lost by 19 points. That's like pretty good, honestly, when you're talking about Penn State. So no, this team was not bad last year. It was a sneakily good team, but then they just at the end of the year they couldn't close it out. I think a new year, more experienced team. I think this team could definitely start competing again in the MAC. This is the thing, right? You can make the argument like every team is better. That's called the MAC. Like that's the
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, in America, in the MAC, every family is either rising or falling.
Mm-hmm.
I have them up, stairs up as well. Just their quarterback was so bad last season, and McElwain's got, he was at one point the offensive coordinator for a really good Alabama team. Um, I think that I'm just kind of optimistic, if not confident, that the new quarterback will do better. Their defense is pretty bad. They're one of the worst in the MAC, but they have the biggest improvement metric projected in 2023. So they should be better. McElwain's he's been pretty solid there as a coach. It was kind of one of those hires that people laughed at, except for those who kind of thought, well, in a better spot, this guy can coach. And it's just one of those classic. And I think that, I can't see him being 4-8 in back-to-back years in the MAC. I had them with 1.5 games of bad luck last season, and K Ford's projecting 1.3 more wins. So there's, 2 bullish signs. And I think that's, I'm pretty sure that a lot of that is, the bad quarterback play they had last season too, which is just, becoming kind of a theme really you're seeing, especially in this conference. I actually heard somebody make a really good point that a lot of this, in this conference, especially because there's not a lot of QB depth, one of the keys is keeping your quarterback healthy too. So I think that it doesn't really apply here, but just, when it comes to QB play and luck and all that. So I think, just regressing to the mean, better quarterback play, and just a more typical Jim McElwain team. I'm with you. They're going to improve this year. Mm-hmm. Not going to play any season totals though.
No, that's not happening. But yeah, improved, and we'll look for them. I actually want to look for them in week 1 against Michigan State, the Oklahoma State of the Big Ten. So I'm intrigued by that one. I think they could. I think they could definitely. I mean, I think the spread is 14.5. I have no faith in Michigan State. I think they could I think they could cover, maybe even knock them off potentially. Like,
Yeah, doesn't that just sound suspiciously short for a
yeah,
MAC team
that's
that went
like
4-8?
yeah, that's the books begging you to take. Oh, it's Michigan State. Mel Tucker, he'll have a
Yeah.
bounce back year. They'll cover that. Don't
Yep.
worry.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. All
Yeah.
right. I'll take Buffalo here. Buffalo went 7-6 last season, although I had them with a negative 11.0 power rating, which is actually second worst in the MAC. I'm showing them as stairs down just because I think that they're going to have a record that's more reflective of just how bad they are. Last season, they were the only MAC team to be in the bottom 18 nationally in both BuckMetrics offensive and defensive ratings. That's quite an achievement, not in a great way. Um, Cole Snyder returns as the quarterback. He had a 73 apex last season, which means he is the lowest rated returning starter in this conference. They lost 75% of their Ryan from last season, so I think that a bad offense is going to get worse. Defense, they were a negative 5.1. They were oddly tough versus the pass. Their defensive apex was 85. So how do you get so poor overall on defense if your pass defense is sneaky good? You give up 5 yards a rush, which is, you know, I'd kind of like to see them play Boston College just to see what happens when Boston College runs the ball against a defense this bad.
An extremely
5.02
stoppable
yards a
force
rush.
versus an extremely stoppable force versus an extremely movable object.
Yes, yeah. So the second worst team in this conference gave up 4.25 yards per rush. So it's not just like they're the worst. They are the worst by like, what is that? Like 20%. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any huge improvement projected from last season. Now, the one thing is the head coach, Mo Linguist, is a former DC, and they did improve versus last season from a negative 8.4 to a negative 5.1. So I'll give them the technical proof of concept improvement, but man, I just can't think that I'm just putting an asterisk next to that because 5.02 yards per rush is just, there's no way you can say, well, okay, we'll give up 5 yards a rush as long as we're tough versus the pass. I don't see, marrying of vision and execution there. No real luck last season. I don't think to the point of their horrible overall ratings on offense and defense. I don't think they were a legitimate 6-win team last season. So the total of 6 to 6.5, actually, at first glance, I was thinking I'm definitely going to bet this under. And this is where I get to the correlator of your mushy middle. I kind of see it as a real estate analogy where if I want to bet a team, I want the team to live in a really small neighborhood. And that what I mean is I want there to be certainty. I don't want a lot of coin flips. And they're in the lower middle class of this conference. And I just see coin flips against Liberty, at Louisiana, against Central Michigan, against Bowling Green, against Eastern Michigan. 5 coin flips is just too much. My gut tells me that 6 is the play, but there's so much uncertainty there. I'm kind of thinking that I want to measure my uncertainty by taking my win probability for each game and just saying, what's the absolute difference between that and 50%? And that would, that would be a certainty measure, I guess, right? Like if I have a 100, then it would be a 50% certainty measure. I just think that they would have a high or a very low certainty measure if I was going to run through that. So I can't bet the under as much as I want to because I know Akron's going to be better. And speaking of which, I've got my eye on that September 30th game at Akron. I'm kind of hoping that maybe Akron's a little bit under the radar still at that point. That'll be the first season where I have like 4 weeks of data and I actually start to play and have model picks. I'm expecting Akron to be a play there / hoping. So I'm fading this team. I'm dying to play the under, but I just can't. And but I see them as stairs down for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got them lobby and / stairs down. I don't believe in this team. This team last year did not feel like a 6-win team. The year before they went 4-8, I remember believing in that team a lot in 21 and losing money on that. But then last year, weirdly, they didn't. They were like, okay, but again, it's like look at what like they lost to Holy Cross and FCS team.
Yeah.
That's not That's not
Forgot to mention
particularly
that.
compelling. Yeah. Then they lose to Coastal. Okay, they beat Eastern Michigan. They beat Miami, Ohio by 4. They destroy Bowling Green. They take down Massachusetts, and then they somehow beat Toledo. Okay, but
I
then they
don't get
lose to
that. Yeah.
Ohio. They lose to Ohio. Then they lose to Central Michigan, lose to Kent State, and then they need to beat Akron in the last game of the season because I think it was a rescheduled game too. They needed to beat Akron to make it to a bowl, and they beat Akron by 1 when they were 11-point favorites.
Yeah.
So
At
they
home.
basically beat the easiest at home. Yeah, they beat the easiest teams on their schedule, with the exception of Toledo. Somehow they pulled that one off. Again, Maction. But this is the thing, right? I am not confident in this team. I think this team, it shouldn't have been a 6-win team last year. This is a program that's basically trying to find its footing since Lance Leipold left for Kansas. And honestly, I don't believe in this team. I don't think this should have been a 6-win team last year. And I mean, again, now they're out of conference. Okay, they've got Liberty. Okay, they got Louisiana, Fordham. Okay, but week 1 Wisconsin, that's going to be rough. What's that spread? 24, 25, probably something like that. I
Maybe
think
even
this
more.
is going
Yeah.
to be, yeah. I think they can maybe scrape it out. Don't touch it, but like this is a team that I'm going to look to fade in a lot of places. But then again, whatever I decide to do for Buffalo is always wrong. So usually I just lose money on this team. I don't know why. I live in close proximity to this team. I think it's in Buffalo. I'd assume it's somewhere in Buffalo. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, I can't figure this team out. So yeah, I'm gonna fade this team, and I think maybe that will work this year. We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
So I've got a few left here. So let me just take another one here.
Okay.
We might as well get to, basically who's projected to be the best team. Toledo, the reigning champions.
Yes.
I actually have them as stairs down. And it's kind of reluctant. I guess I'll start with the defense too, because their defense is easily the best in the MAC. They return the most starts in all of FBS, not just the MAC, but all FBS on defense. So a good defense is going to get better and probably might be in the territory of like some Sunbelt teams last season where they might be nationally one of those top 20 defenses. The reason I'm not really high on this team is, I'm just seeing something different from the quarterback, DeQuan Finn. Everybody is in love with his legs, which is great. I'm really not in love with his arm. He had his apex last season was 78. He has 19 career starts now, so I'm not saying the jury's completely, decided on him, but 19 career starts, you got to have a better apex than that. He will make plays with his legs, but I don't see it really getting much better for him. They had a good running game too to support him too. And their offensive line takes some hits. So the big thing is I think the bad quarterback play catches up with them. Jason Candle, weirdly, and Matt Campbell, he coached under Matt Campbell, and, he and Matt Campbell are both on that bad luck is not always just luck list. The total here is 9. I don't know if I'm going to bet it, but it just seems like the under would be the play here. And also they ended the season with losses to Bowling Green and Western Michigan last season, who, Bowling Green kind of snuck into a bowl, and Western Michigan was just comedically bad. I don't get it. And that's just Jason Candle just always finds a way to just lose one or two stupid games. So I think that catches up to him. I think the rest of the league is kind of catching up to him, although they will be better on defense. Just the problems on offense are going to be worse.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say though that this year their schedule is not particularly difficult. Okay, you got Illinois week 1. You got Texas Southern, San Jose State. Those are pretty easy. They could definitely beat those. Then you got Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, Massachusetts. Again, apparently Massachusetts plays every MAC team. Ball State, Miami of Ohio, Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, Bowling Green, Central Michigan. So the thing is, Illinois is probably a loss, and then maybe I don't know. Maybe you
I
say
think San Jose State. Man, geez, that'll be actually a really good game.
yeah. I'd say you flip
it's
those.
at
I think you
Toledo.
pick maybe 2 expectant losses, so you're at 10-2. But then again, if you pencil in another random loss somewhere in there to now they do avoid Ohio, they do avoid Akron. but
Yeah.
they are playing Northern Illinois. Uh, so it's and they need to play Central Michigan. So there maybe you could take the under. I've got right now on my book. I've got 8.5 under 8.5 plus 120. I could see 4 losses on this. I could see 4 losses. Illinois, but it's hard though. You need to basically bet on them just, and it will be like they'll be favored in 9, but you have to just bet on them losing one random one. And I think that's not
Which
unheard
he
of. But I think
does.
that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? You're like they're gonna lose one of these games. I don't know. It's not gonna be the one you think. It's gonna be like the one they were favored by 20 points in.
Yeah.
That's the one they're gonna lose. But like
Like
that's
Western Michigan last season.
yeah.
I mean, it just, yeah, I'll put it this way. There's no way I would play over that. And you said it's 8.5 now because it was at 9.
It's
I
eight point
can't see
five, but
10.
juice to the over. 8.5 plus
Yeah.
150 to the minus 150 to the over, plus 120 to the under.
I mean, yeah, if somebody wants to bet over on that on this team, have at it, and God bless you if you do it. Just not with my money.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Yeah. Okay. Who else we got here? Let's go to you guys. Show you with Ball State.
Yeah, so I'll do Ball State. I have this team as stairs down. They upgrade at quarterback, but everything else is kind of worse. I kind of feel like this is just the regression down from COVID season, right? So in the COVID season, they went 7-1, amazing year. Everybody was super super happy. Then you go 6-7 the year after that. You lose the bowl, okay. Then you go 5-7, okay. We're still coming down, and like I kind of feel like they upgraded a quarterback, great, but I feel like this is just you're clearly seeing a line down here where, and again, right before the COVID season, right, 5-7, 4-8, right. I think this team peaked during, and again, a lot of weird things happened during that COVID season, but I think that this is just a team that's kind of on the downtrend, and I think this is going to be the year when they kind of bottom out and they go like 3 or 4 wins. I think is probably what you're looking at for this year. And as I say that, the over under is 4.5. That's a bit high. Who are they playing? Kentucky, Georgia. What? They opened the season with Kentucky and then Georgia? Where is Ball State? Isn't it in Maryland?
It's in Muncie, Indiana.
Okay. I did not. Okay. That's
apparently they're providing for just the whole university, not just the athletic department with those 2 games.
Apparently, man. Like they're like, let's play 2 SEC teams. Then you have Indiana State. Okay, that's not a Division I team. You have Georgia Southern. Okay, that's a Sun Belt team. Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Miami of Ohio. Okay, so you avoid Ohio and Akron, and you get Northern Illinois there. I don't know. It's unplayable, but like this isn't gonna. I don't think this is gonna be a good team this year.
No, this is another of those lower middle class guys that I see that just make it makes so many total plays in this conference just tough because they're in the mushy middle. The corollary to that is the mushy middle, where basically you're going to have a lot of these teams that are just basically the same, and one might be getting like 7.5 or something.
You take
as you mentioned on the Big 12, yeah.
Okay.
I hold on one. Oh, do you have more on Ball State?
No, I think I'm done. I think that's all the teams.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, let me just kind of go through here. This is interesting. So their quarterback had an apex of 47, which is just horrible, and now he's the backup at Illinois. I don't even understand that, since I'm really high on Illinois' quarterback. So just please stay healthy, Mr. Altmaier. They lose a lot of production at receiver last season. Their new quarterback, Lane Hatcher, was horrible at Texas State. He had an apex of 53. That was a program that was just circling the drain, so maybe he's a little better. The thing is, this defense actually was the second best in the MAC. They're item at a plus 1.4, good versus both the run and pass. I think the issues on offense are basically why I also have them as a stairs down. I kind of see them, though, with, if I say really limited on offense and really good on defense and figures to be improving, I kind of see them as a lesser version of Toledo in that way. So not that they're going to threaten Toledo to win the division, but I just, I kind of see them as the same kind of team. One other thing, you mentioned the 2020 season where they were lucky in COVID. I had them as the second worst team in the division that season, and it drove me nuts because I lost just week after week on this team, and it was just it drove me nuts. And this literally, their COVID season team was the genesis of the BuckMetrics luck calculation, because it made no sense what they were doing, and I could it was maddening, and I did that, and so I actually bet them to go under the season win total, because I don't know if you remember, like, people are like, oh yeah, hey, they won the conference last season, they're going to win at least 8 games, and didn't, and it was just
flawless logic there.
just one of those just things where the market just kind of just does very lazy work on some of these lower conferences, which makes them so great, and why I love to spend time on them. Mm-hmm. Not going to bet. Good.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I feel like, and we saw this last year, right? We were able to get so much value betting against San Diego State early, too. And I feel like for the lower conferences, it's basically, I feel like they basically hang everything on recency bias. And it's not because, I think the books know that those teams they know where the bad eggs are. But the thing is, if you're a player, right, you're like, San Diego State, like, won 10 games last year. They'll beat this team, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I remember San Jose State the year before, they won the Mountain West the one year, and then the next year they were like, oh, they're favored in all these games. It's like, no, they're bad now.
Yep.
You always have these random teams that will come up and have like an amazing year, and then all of a sudden the next year just get absolutely crushed. And I think the books know, because they know it's a fact. They can do the luck calculation, and they can be like, oh, this team is massively overvalued. This team shouldn't be here. Or this team shouldn't be here. But I think for the general sports bettor, like, well, that team was good last year, we'll bet them again. I'm sure they're still the same team, but in many cases they're not the same team. Like, again, we honed in on last year for San Diego State that the loss of their punter was a huge impact, because again, it made their fields a lot shorter, it made the opponents' fields a lot longer, and the fact that they lost that. But other people were like, no, they didn't realize, and they didn't kind of factor in the fact of the punter. So I think in many ways, I think this is a very interesting, and this is a way we find a lot of value early, when we're like, this team shouldn't be here, and we can bet against teams like that. And Ball State, Northern Illinois last year as well. All these teams are prime examples of things where we can find value, where other people think, oh, this is a team, they did well last year, so they're going to just continue that trend. And we're like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah, and particularly in this conference where, the best parts get stripped off the vehicle and sold to the SEC or or Big Ten, right? Or wherever.
Especially with the transfer portal now, right? Like, hey, if you're half decent in any of these lower conferences, even not just the MAC, but in the MAC, in the AAC, and heck, even in other, if you're a good player in the PAC or the ACC, you're getting shipped off to the SEC, to the Big Ten. You're getting a massive NIL deal for this stuff, right? And I think this is the way college football is now, and it's not bad. I think it's kind of okay, because it basically means that the bigger schools are not going to take chances on random kids. Are going to make them prove it. And like, guess what? You go to Akron for a year, and you get like 1,200 receiving yards. Guess what? You're coming to the SEC next year, right? And that's totally fine. That's a great version of promotion/relegation, basically.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to do that. But that's the reality these teams need to accept right now. And I think we're getting closer to that every year.
Yeah, great for the kids. And I bet there's a lot of stories out there where, it was like maybe a big program was looking at a guy and just maybe he was hurt his senior year and they just couldn't give him an offer. Or maybe they thought, geez, this guy's he's just 2 inches too short. And then he has a growth spurt, but they loved everything else about him. Those kind of things. He just works on one thing, and it sucks for the MAC teams. But, by the same token, they should be doing the same towards FCS programs as well. The problem is they don't have the infrastructure to really scout. So that's where that theory kind of hits reality. But, I don't know. Maybe they should crowdsource that effort, their scouting of FCS.
Well, actually, I believe PFF has now expanded to the FCS, so now maybe they just buy a PFF subscription, and there you go. You can do all your scouting from just a PFF subscription.
Problem solved, and just give like 4 credits to some students to just interpret it and summarize it for the coaches, right?
There's just one course, which is the entire purpose of the course is just to find which players are going to give offers to in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
This is your summer project. Build us a new team for parts from FBS schools.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I think we're good. I think that's basically all the big ones we want to talk about, right?
Let me see here.
Or do you?
Eastern Michigan, I just
Okay.
have them as stairs down. They lose a good quarterback. I like the coach, clearly.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in Creighton. The thing is, they lose probably, the best full time quarterback last season, and they had really good luck last season. I went through the whole relationship between quarterback play and good luck. They're looking at a drop of Apex, probably like 20 or 30 points. So that luck reverts. Their totals at 7 to 7.5. The over's getting play, so I think the market's a little slow here, but I don't feel strongly enough to bet the under because I like Creighton and I think they're in that lower middle class, which makes them just unbettable because they're in a very large neighborhood. But they're prime mushy middle plays.
Yes, I agree with that. And Eastern Michigan was a team we found a lot of value in randomly last year at times. I remember that. They had a weird loss to Buffalo. I remember that, and that was like they shouldn't have lost that game. But
No.
yeah, I think they actually do improve. They have a new quarterback, but across the board, they're kind of a bit better. So this is a team where I kind of am like lobby stairs up. So maybe a bit different here. I kind of like Eastern Michigan this year, but again, it's
Okay.
going to be like there's a lot of teams that are like it's like oh all of them are like kind of okay, and then they're all like it's going to be a mess, right? That's what Maction is.
Yep. All right. Last team, we'll do this quickly. Western Michigan. Sadly, they fired their coach, and I say sadly because they were just nonstop comic material for how bad their quarterback play was. I'll just remind you of two names: Trayson Bourget and Jack Salopek. They were both on the bum list at different times of last season.
Yeah.
They got a running backs coach from Stanford. I saw some footage of him. This guy is very well spoken and seems to know what he's doing. So I think that our hijinks are over as relates to this team. So we're looking at just an average rebuild. And our fun is over as relates to Western Michigan, sadly.
Yeah, it's a new head coach, same quarterback though, but an improved offense. But the defense is a little bit weaker. So I think this is going to be an interesting year. If they can fix it, it's probably going to take a bit for them to kind of readjust and rebuild. But I think in longer term, we'll see Western Michigan be a better team again. But
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So that covers our team preview. So the final questions here, four of them.
mm-hmm.
What do you assess the likelihood that the MAC gets the Access Bowl bid, namely the New Year's Six Bowl bid to the G5 team?
I think the problem is just the fact that I feel like the MAC is going to beat itself up. Someone's going to I think Ohio has the best shot because they have a half decent schedule. And if they beat San Diego State, then they might have that shot. But even then, you're still going to have to contend with some of the better teams in the AAC. Are you going to take I think the MAC team's going to have to go undefeated for them to have even a shot, right? And I think Ohio was probably the best shot for that. But again, Akron's sitting right there, right? Akron takes them down, and there goes your Access Bowl build. There goes your Access Bowl bid, right? And I think there's a decent chance of that. I'd give it a 20-ish. What I give the AAC?
Yeah, I forgot to look that up.
We should. I need to make sure the numbers add up.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think I had about. I think we were both like about 20 to 30.
Yeah, I think so.
For the American.
Maybe I'll give it like a 15% chance because you need to have an AAC team. You need to have multiple AAC teams implode, and you have to have an undefeated season. I think Ohio has the components for it, but outside of that, because here's the thing: are they really going to pick a MAC team that I think? I'm not going to say. I'm just going to say this Buffalo. Obviously not. I'm not saying specifically Buffalo, but Buffalo plays Wisconsin week 1. If they get blown at Wisconsin and they win every other game, are they really going to Are they going to be okay, that's the best G5 team? No, right? That's the problem. So
I kind of want to look up.
Games.
They've gotten that bid once. It was PJ Flex last season. I think they lost one game during the regular season. I can't remember whom. It might have been actually to Wisconsin now that you mention it. But I'm about half as confident as you. I said 8%. I think Ohio is the only one with the path. But just they've got some. It's not hard to see them losing multiple non-conference games. So they need a lot of help. A lot of help. Like a crazy season, like even at the end, even if Tulane had lost in the championship game, it takes a lot for it to filter down to the MAC. So I've got 8%. All right. Next question. Which coach from this conference gets hired away for a Power 5 job first?
Ooh. I think the Akron coach will eventually. I don't think anybody else yet. Not now, not this year, but it's going to be like Akron will make a big jump, go like 8-4 or something in the regular season, and the next year they'll go like 10-2, and then they'll be like, okay, that guy.
Yeah, and he was a coach at Mississippi State, so it's not like it's a huge leap of faith. And he actually was okay there. So I agree. I got Joe Moorhead too. Pick one upset in this conference.
Akron against anybody.
There you go. Fair. I like that. I didn't want to dose up too much on Akron, so I actually chose Toledo's going to lose at Ball State. Ball State, I like that defense. Clock's going to run out on that shaky quarterback play at Toledo. So I see that's the upset that I'm picking.
That's a fair one, honestly. Yeah, like anything could happen in some of these games, and I think that's definitely something that could happen.
Yeah, and it's at Ball State too, which I think helps. Who plays for the conference title? Which two teams?
Here's the thing. I'm not going to say Akron. I'm going to say Ohio, but I think Akron could be there. Because the thing is, I think the gap between a good and an okay MAC team is probably completely up to coaching. I think if there's we know the impact of coaching in college football, and none of these players are particularly amazing. A lot of these guys aren't going to the NFL. So I think that if you just have a better coach, it can help you a lot of the way. I think it's between Ohio and Akron for the MAC East, and then I don't want to say Toledo because it's going to be a very square thing. All right, give me Central Michigan. Central
really?
Michigan versus Ohio. There we go.
Yeah, I'm going kind of chalky here, Ohio and Toledo. Although, going back to that 5 squads, maybe Northern Illinois if things fall completely right. They're just, the ability to outscore in a conference full of crummy offenses can go a long way.
Let's see what the odds. What are the odds on that? Let me see here. So for the MAC championship game, Toledo plus 180, Ohio. I got 3-1 plus 300. Buffalo 8-1. So Northern Illinois 10-1. Akron 15-1. That's weird. That's a lot lower than in Bet365.
Somebody knows.
Akron is 30-1 on Bet365, and then they're 15-1. Okay, I'm gonna grab that on Bet365 tonight before I go to bed. So MAC West, Toledo minus 130, Eastern Michigan plus 380, Northern Illinois 6-1, Central Michigan 7 plus 750, Ball State 12-1, Western Michigan 22-1, and Akron is 10-1 to win the MAC East. So wait, they're 10-1 to win the MAC East, but then 15-1 to win the conference. So if they're saying if they win the MAC East, then they're the favorites. Well,
yeah, are those different books at the 10 and 15?
No, same book.
Same book.
Oh, same book. Bet365 doesn't have division.
Yeah,
I don't think they do at least.
I'm guessing they took a decent sized bet on Akron to win the conference then.
Actually, no, sorry, never mind. Akron. So on Bet365, Akron is 12-1. Yeah, so it's literally just all one. It's a conference bet, inflating everything. Then.
Yeah. The Northern Illinois might be worth a little something. Just to win the division. That there's just a little meat on that bone there. But I like Ohio at if you say plus 300, that seems pretty generous to me. I think there's just too much adoration for Toledo here. I think that's kind of the leverage to use. Yeah,
I agree with that sentiment. So, okay. that is the MAC, I believe, right?
That is it. So
Yeah.
next up will be the Pac-12 next week, if it hasn't been put out of its misery.
The
I think
PAC
they're still going to play
4.5.
football this season.
They are still going to play the PAC 4.5.
Yes.
Whatever we're down to, we'll call it whatever we're down to. We'll like
Yeah.
Photoshop the logo. It'll be like PAC 4.5.
Yeah.
So wait,
And
what
then
is
like a little
so,
down arrow with it
yeah
to signify
PAC
it's decreasing.
PAC because the PAC for so PAC stands for Pacific Atlantic.
No, it's just Pacific.
Oh, okay.
The Pacific
Yeah,
12.
that's what's
Yeah.
okay. Makes sense. All right. Well, we will talk about whatever's left of the Pac-12 next week, and after that, we'll finish it. We're getting closer to conference previews, and we're getting close to football. There's actually football happening right now, the Hall of Fame game. That's not college football, so and also not real football either. So, but we're getting close to college football. So, all right, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.